You know, art takes many forms, yet it all starts with an idea or a concept from inside the artist's mind. Welcome to Inside the Artist's Mind. I'm your host, Trey Goodman. On today's show, we meet filmmaker and Scottsdale Community College professor, Dr. Penelope Price. I got a chance to talk with Dr. Price at Scottsdale Community College's television and film studio. So Dr. Penelope Price, welcome to Inside the Artist's Mind. And thanks so much for allowing us into your Scottsdale Community College studio here. Now, you are an independent filmmaker and a professor.
Right.
But what got you started into filmmaking?
Well, I think it all started when I was a little girl and I was determined to save the world. I used to dream of flying and rescuing people. And so when I graduated from college, I graduated with a degree in political science.
Okay.
But then I got discouraged with politics, you know, with Watergate and Vietnam and all those horrible things.
Sure.
So I went to Europe, and the old backpack and the train ticket, you know, and discovered art. And I realized.
And where'd you discover that at? What part of Europe?
All throughout Europe, at all the museums, and you know, the music, the literature. I would read different novels according to where I was in Europe. And I realized that all the borders and everything change in the political world, but art stays there. And it seemed like it was the one thing that humans could do that was positive and that would lift the spirit and didn't hurt people.
So ever since then, you've been into making films?
So I decided that I would save the world through art. So I dedicated myself to filmmaking.
What do you think's the key to success in making films or videos? For you, the key?
Yeah, well, I think probably the key for me and the key for anybody is this idea, which actually you and I share, which is persistence of vision.
Okay.
Which is a very cool term because it is symbolic, of course, in that you do have to persist in your vision, but it's also a physical term about film and why film works, which of course is now not as relevant since it's all video and HD, but it comes out of the film world and the film language. Because I've seen a lot of students who are brilliant and wonderful artists, but they don't have that dedication and that persistence.
It's a tough business to be in. You certainly have to have a persistence because you find a lot of roadblocks and stumbles along the way.
Yeah, and you're always questioning yourself, and you're always wondering, why am I doing this now? You know.
Well, what skills do you see that are needed for a filmmaker?
Oh, well, I think definitely you need to be a good writer. I think that's really one of the first ones, especially if you're an independent filmmaker, because there's so much grant writing and proposal writing and all that sort of thing. And then, of course, the visual skills of which would come out of somebody who is a painter or a photographer, and of course, people skills. That might be the most important.
Well, you have to work with such a team, right?
Yeah, it's a collaborative art.
To make it happen.
Yeah, and again, with my students, it's funny because they, you know, I can teach them how to run a camera, but I can't teach them how to be nice to each other. Well, I try. You know, we have a lot of counseling.
So you do a little bit of both,
right?
right?
It's half technology and half psychology.
It's certainly a necessary skill. I mean, you're working as a team, and different tasks need to be done, and usually it's long hours. So
right. So everybody gets tense.
And if there's a certain vision you have to follow, which is usually the directors, and so sometimes maybe can be a rub too down the line, right? I mean, everyone has to buy into the.
Very, very difficult. And the thing is that, you know, a good director and a good producer, of course, is able to somehow bring out the skill of the cinematographer and the skill of the sound person and the skill of the actor, and you know, bring all those things together without being threatened, you know, that somehow it's going to overshadow their vision, but understand that it is a complement to the vision. And so that type of confidence and sort of belief in collaboration is real important and very odd for people to have that. So, you know, it's a difficult skill to develop.
You sort of had two phases that we talked about. There's the first phase. How would you describe that, your first phase?
Well, I would describe the first phase as still being interested in human rights and still sort of fighting for a lot of those issues. But it was focused on women's rights.
Okay.
And it was very personal. and probably in some ways a healing for me to deal with some of the issues, my own personal issues.
And you made some films in regards to that. They are titled, the titles are?
I made a trilogy,
Yeah.
and the first one's called Home Movies.
Right.
And that one is focused around the idea of that since women had inherited the story of Eve, and since we had been somehow labeled with being evil
Right.
for having knowledge.
Yeah.
So we decided, my friend and I who made this film, we decided if we were going to bite that apple, we were going to really bite it. And so we created a whole new modern Eve in the kitchen. And so it's a dark farce. It's very funny, but it's brutal.
And the second one?
And the second one is Pantyhose, which is another dark farce. It's about a woman who has had a divorce, and she's going out on a date, and her daughter doesn't want her to go.
Okay.
And so it's a battle between her and her daughter, and it's really for every mother who's ever wanted to strangle her daughter. So what happens during the argument is that we animate the pantyhose. The mothers tried on all these different pantyhose, and they're laying all over the bed, and so this one pair of pantyhose comes up and strangles the daughter. So it's a dark farce.
Well, and we're going to take a look at those shortly, but let's talk about the third one before we take a look at all three of them.
And the third one is Dinner. So basically what I was trying to do is explore different rooms of the house. It came out of an idea that I had. Well, my name's Penelope, and Penelope is the wife of Ulysses. And of course, in the Odyssey, Ulysses is the one that goes off, and Penelope's left home in the house. So that was, always sort of rubbed me the wrong way. So I decided that I would have my own adventures at home, but they would be in my mind. Okay. So these were psychological adventures, and originally the trilogy was named Odyssey 2, in which Penelope refuses to weave. Because in the Odyssey she weaves every night, but this Penelope's doing art. So we explored the kitchen and the bedroom, which is where Pantyhose was, and then the dining room, which is Dinner. And this is kind of where Dr. Caligari, if you're familiar with the German Expressionism, that film, Dr. Caligari meets June Cleaver. Okay. So it's like, sweet 50s versus German Expressionism, and the woman just comes home from work. She's a working woman, and she's trying to have a nice dinner, and everything goes wrong. And, the kids are fighting, and everything, including Grandma. She dies during the dinner. So this just drives the mom nuts, and she goes under the table and ends up singing under the table. So and I have kind of a dark side to myself.
You do. And with that, let's take a look at that.
Okay.
Neutralize static bobby pins. Listen for 1 year subscription to polyurethane.
My Lady of Victory, My Lady of Hope, My Lady of Wisdom, My Lady of Mercy, My Lady of Sorrow, My Lady of Truth, My Lady of Beauty, My Lady of Pain, My Lady of Love, My Lady of Victory.
You're not in touch with anything. You're weird. You're weird. You're weird.
Dinner. Love should dance around the family dinner table, like candlelight reflected in the jello. You made me do it. Yes, you did. Deed, you did. Yes, you know, you really did. Give me, give me, give me, give me what I'd die for. You know, you got the brand of kisses that I cry for.
So those are interesting, and obviously dinner is a lot longer than we've shown, just a small clip. It's 20 minutes. It was your longest short, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's 16 millimeter.
So you enjoyed shooting those on 16?
I do. I did, and I love shooting. That's my favorite thing, and I love shooting film.
We'll be back for the second half of our interview with Penny, but first we'd like to take a quick break for a community message from SCF Arizona.
Every day in Arizona, someone gets hurt at work. Whether you're an employer or an employee, SCF Arizona helps you make safety part of the job. Our annual Safety Works Expo offers inexpensive classes, materials, OSHA certifications, and more. You can learn new techniques to prevent injuries and network with safety professionals. For information, call 602-631-2701 or go to www.scfaz.com.
Welcome back to IAM. We're at Scottsdale Community College with documentary filmmaker Penelope Price.
Well, let's talk about your major documentary that you finished recently, Artist of Resistance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one, it was shot on 16 millimeter, so I did enjoy doing it that way because it was a little different. We didn't have the interviews in there. It was more of observational style,
Right.
so like Weissman, and it was in El Salvador, and it was about an artist who went to El Salvador and helped uncover a mass grave.
Right.
And the village, when they found out that she was an artist, after they had uncovered the bones of their children, they asked her if she would stay and paint murals on the walls of the village with the children who had survived.
Now, what got you into that project? How did you even get into that?
I was invited to do it. Joe Segura was teaching at ASU, and he knew about Claudia and knew about her work and thought it would make a wonderful documentary. So he invited me to direct it.
Wow,
So
that's
that
cool.
was really
And I know you
quite an
spent a
honor.
lot of time on that project,
Yeah.
and it is a great piece. And we're gonna take a look at it right now.
Okay.
Resist. Resist brutality from where we can. Today, I resist working on this exhumation, loving skeletons that have histories to tell. It is very difficult for me to speak about El Mozote in a way that I feel present at all times. It's almost as if I have to go in and out of El Mozote to see it, even though it has been a resource in my heart. How does it feel to love a skeleton, Claudia? It feels like El Mozote. How does it smell, a mass grave? It smells like El Mozote. What color is the color of earth kept in a restricted piece of time? It is the color of El Mozote. It would be really, really nice to think that history will not repeat itself. But I don't think that is true. So much violence and disregards for human rights, and that is what conforms our own history. The going from darkness into the hope of something better. Trying to make sense of what we see. And as artists, recording all that passage.
Va cruzando el río la compa Roxana, con su mochilita en la espalda ella va. En sus ojos brilla la fresca mañana, y con ella brilla toda la unidad.
Well, I wish we had more time to show the rest of it. I mean, it is a tremendous documentary, and hopefully people get a chance to maybe go to your website and check it out, because it's pretty intense. I've seen it several times, and I was amazed at what I pick up each time I watch it.
Thank you. Yeah, it is in layers. Claudia's work is layered,
Right.
and she also says a wonderful idea about how truth comes in many layers. And so I was trying to stylistically imitate that and sort of honor her theory and her artwork.
What was the hardest part about making that? I mean,
You know, the hardest part was editing, of
Really?
course.
Yeah.
With documentaries, that does seem to be the thing that takes so long. But there were times when I was editing it, by myself, and feeling again like, why am I doing this? And, am I going to be able to rise to this level? Because she's such an amazing person and her art is phenomenal. And
Right.
here I was having the gall to make a documentary about her.
so you felt a
And-
lot of pressure, no doubt.
And of course, the story itself was this tragic, tragic story. And so that was the hardest part, was rising to the level that I felt like I needed to.
Well, and you certainly did.
She loves it, and I do feel like I honored them, and I was very careful not to make it exploitive.
Right.
Because since it was about skulls and graves and all that sort of thing, I could have just really gone over the top with that, but I tried to keep it subtle.
So your first phase was making films about
Women.
and the
right?
second phase.
Yeah, it was, I moved outside of myself.
Right.
Yeah, and so the second phase is really about human rights, and so far it's been about foreign films, foreign issues.
Right.
So that one was about El Salvador, and my next one is the Kurds in Iraq.
Wow. So you're going to Iraq?
Yes, in January.
That's tremendous.
Yeah.
So you have a documentary lined up you're going to shoot. What made you decide to do that?
Well, I wanted to do something on Iraq. I felt like obviously we need to learn more about the culture, and there's 3 distinct different cultures.
Right.
And I felt like I had just learned the skills, and I wanted to put those skills to use and to raise awareness. And then I had a student who is from Iraq, who's from Baghdad, and he heard me talking about that, and so he stepped up to the plate and said he would help me.
Are
and he
you
would do it
feeling
with me.
nervous about going or no?
No, I'm not. I like that's my favorite part. I love shooting documentaries. It feels like the zen of filmmaking. It's all about being there and being in the moment and not controlling the environment, which is the opposite of the other kind of production.
Well, let's talk about you as a teacher. You've been at Scottsdale Community College for quite a few years, so you've seen a lot of students. How many classes are you teaching now?
I'm teaching 3 classes
And
this
they
semester.
are?
And so one is this documentary class that I've created. It's Lights, Camera, Activism, Documentaries for Social Change. And it's a fabulous class. It's limited to 12 students so that we sit conference style. It feels like a graduate seminar. And it tends to attract the more serious students and the ones who have something that they want to say. So we get into wonderful philosophical discussions, and they make great pieces. So that class, and then I'm teaching an advanced production class.
Wow, okay.
And those, of course, are the top sort of thesis pieces that come out of the school. And then the third one is my beginning class.
Wow, so you really got the whole gamut, beginning to advanced and then doco. What do you find your challenge with students? I mean, I'm sure there's some.
Yeah, there's lots. A lot of, oh gosh, a lot of it is, I go out on a lot of shoots.
With the students?
With the students.
Okay, and what sort of role would you play?
Well, in the beginning class, I supposedly play the role of executive producer,
Okay.
but I really end up playing the role of AD, as you can imagine. And also, just telling them, no, you're a grip, you can't go touch the camera. Trying to teach
them all the positions.
Yeah, and all that. But depending on their scripts, sometimes they're all-night shoots. So, for example, one time I was in this shoot where we were shooting about a vampire cheerleader, always a good thing, and we were behind the stands,
football stands
football
type?
stands,
Yeah, okay.
right. We were back there. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. We were trying madly to finish this vampire cheerleader film before the sun rose. And we looked over and we saw that the sprinklers were starting to go off.
no.
And we had $500,000 worth of lights everywhere and cords everywhere. So we quickly ran around and got big garbage cans and put them over the sprinklers that were in our area and put sandbags on top of them. And then the director said, okay, if we missed one, because it was dark, said if we missed any sprinklers, the rule is you have to throw your body on it. And I thought, I have a PhD, and I'm like a teacher, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm about to throw my body on a sprinkler. So those are some of the challenges. A lot of them are physical.
Sounds like you're very dedicated to the industry and the students.
I do love the students. They're the life.
So, why do you do what you do?
Well, partly because I get paid. It's my day job. But also, I just genuinely love the students. It's really fun.
What's the best part you love about the students? We talked about the challenges, but what's the best part?
I think the nicest part is that they come in wanting to follow a vision and wanting to find a career that will fulfill them. And a lot of times they're kind of scraggly and they don't know if, that they have to show up on time, and they're all pierced and tattooed or whatever, and by the end of the program they've matured and they're directing shows.
So you like to be a part of that process?
I like to see them mature and grow, and then it's really fun to later get an email, and they're directing music videos in LA or.
SCC's had some really good students come through here, and we'll have more in the future, no doubt.
We have, right? We've won the Student Academy Award, and we've had kids get into the Sundance Festival, and also Sundance Producers Workshop and Sundance Writers Workshop, and just all sorts of great things.
So you obviously love to teach and do the independent. You like the balance then? Or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, of course, I always learn so much every time I make a film. And then I can't wait.
And you bring that back
yeah,
to
I can't wait to share that with them. And I feel personally that my classes are continuing to advance because I'm continuing to advance.
Now, if you couldn't teach or create these docos or videos, what would you do?
I would write. I still love writing.
Is that your first love, or?
Actually, it is. I won a writing contest in the 5th grade.
Have you made that into a short yet?
No.
No?
No. I do love to write.
Well, I think you're unusual in that you're still in the business and teaching. I think a lot of times you'll find someone maybe was in the business and now teaching, or maybe they were never in the business but are a great teacher. But I mean, you are doing both, so I think that's
sort of kept both going the whole time. Yeah.
Now, the name of our show is Inside the Artist's Mind, as you know. So we always like to ask the artist, which is you today, what's inside your mind?
Oh, interesting. Let's see, what's inside my mind? Colors.
Colors.
Lots of colors. Yeah.
Is that something you like to use in your productions?
Oh, yes, all my films are rich in colors. And that's, of course, why I love films. You can almost feel like you can stick your finger in it. But yeah, I think that's my favorite part about the world of film.
What do you feel that color represents?
Well, certainly red is the passion, and that's in every one of my films. I have a lot of red. It's been an important part of the films. And then of course you've got, the yellow, which is hope. And so I like to include a lot of that.
Well, Dr. Price, it's been great to sit down and finally talk to you. I've admired your work for a long time, and you've obviously been known in the Valley for a long time, so I really appreciate you taking the time. And hopefully we can catch up with you when you get back from Iraq and see that documentary. That's going to be something to see.
Great.
So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed today's show, and if you'd like to see the rest of Dr. Price's documentary, Artist of Resistance, you can order it from her website. Until next time. For more information on our show, contact us at 480-969-3789 or drop us a line at moreinfo@iamtvshow.com.